Bim, guess what? It's 9 o'clock. It's Sunday, the 4th of February in 2024, and it's time for an offbeat look at what is going on in the world's news this week. Yes, it's time for News Roundup of the Week, which I still can't remember the name of when I talk to people in the shop and they say, what's that news programme you do? And I can never remember the name of it, but by the end of the year I'll remember the name of it. This week we've got a few topics to cover. The main news is going to be the USA, the DUP, and the horrendous attack in London by a guy with some very nasty substances. Later on we will have a look at the lighter side of the news of the week. A few things that make you go, we'll also have a look at the world's news, i.e. what's going on around the world, usually America and Australia, and see how they report stuff. And we've also gotten, of course, a video clip. I say that, we've not had a video clip for a while, but this is a video clip that I actually robbed off the BBC News. Believe it or not, they actually let the video clip go. So, yeah, let's just go with it, shall we? Hello to Elaine and Sean J. Don't forget, this is a podcast, but it's also a live broadcast on YouTube on the Sundays at 9 o'clock UK time. Feel free to join in the chat. Feel free to like, share, subscribe. Agree with me, disagree with me, it doesn't really matter. The main thing is we get some reaction and we find out what we all think about stuff. Maybe we can put the world to rights, probably not, but you never know. So far we've got Lainey and Sean J on. T, if you're there as well, welcome. And we will crack on with the main news of the week. Now, there have been three main news stories of the week, basically the ones I mentioned a few seconds ago. They were, none of them are great, let's be honest. The first one was on Monday. What's going on here? What is going on here? No, I want to go into the main news, thank you very much. There we are. And that is the continued attacks by America on Yemen, and also attacks on Syria and Iraq. They're basically bombing the Middle East. We're joining in on occasion, as in the British, the UK, but it's mainly over the responses of what is going on with the Red Sea and the ships being attacked in the Red Sea, which has been kind of escalating over the last few months. Not in a good way, obviously, and they're trying to stop the Houthis from bombing them, but the problem with the Houthis is they are probably supplied by Iran. Meanwhile, in Syria and in Iraq, Iranian-backed other militia have been attacking the troops that were based there as well. Stephen LFC1, when are you doing the next Wigan Watch? Kelly likes your new intro. The new Wigan Watch will be coming up this week. To be fair, there's not a lot going on. Hello, Angela. So, so we've now got Lainey, Sean J, Stephen LFC1 and Angela in the chat room. Chatting away there. Don't forget you can chat amongst yourselves as well. Right, anyway, let's crack on with the new show. So Monday, the 29th of January, US said it is not looking to go to war, but will respond appropriately to the attack last week in the Jordan camp that America had. On Tuesday, 30th, Biden says he has decided how to react. Sorry, I thought someone wrote something then, but they haven't. No more deals, but says he's not after a world war. By the time we got to Thursday, US agrees to attack Iranian targets in Syria and Iraq over a number of days, trying not to escalate the situation. Biden signs an order to sanction states. What? Oh yeah. At the same time, he also goes and puts some sanctions on some people who live in Israel, or Israelis, over the war going on in the West Bank. So it's all getting very, very confusing. What's going on with America? By Friday, there was breaking news late on that airstrikes in Iraq and Syria over the tower camp attack where 3 American soldiers lost their lives. And yesterday, Saturday, which was the 3rd of February, US strikes at targets in Iran again, and Syria, not Iran, Iraq and Syria, and also attacking at the same time with the British help from the British, rumours say, in Yemen. So basically just blitzing the whole place. Got a bit of a cold, so bear with me if I cough occasionally. More attacks, airstrikes by the US and UK, and Iran will be held accountable for their actions. So basically Iran are being warned that they are about to be well, when Biden doesn't want to go to war with Iraq or Iran, sorry, because obviously that would be a very bad thing to do, because who's Iran backed by? Yeah, we're going back round to this Russia thing. It's all, everything is all linked together. It's really, really complicated. And the British Army are going in on a regular basis, the British Air Force, the RAF, as well, with the Americans. The idea is that they are defending the right to transport goods over or through the Red Sea. We wait to see how this pans out, but it's not looking good, let's be honest. Meanwhile, in Northern Ireland, there, so it is, the DUP agree after 2 years that Stormont may return and people will go back to the Stormont Parliament. It's been 2 years since there was any agreement by the DUP. The DUP basically pulled out because they didn't like the agreement that Boris and Europe had come to over the what's it called? The North Sea? Not North Sea. What's it called? Irish Sea. Over the Irish Sea border where goods had to be checked. So they basically pulled out of the Stormont agreement, and basically that meant there was no government in Northern Ireland, and there hasn't been for 2 years. So everything's going to pot in Northern Ireland. The health service, wages for the employees of the governments and the councils, the council money's going to pot, education's gone to pot, because no one's looking after it. Because legally the British government can't do that, because if they do that, that opens up a whole can of worms. So basically Northern Ireland has been just gliding along like a ship with no captain, and it's hit a couple of icebergs on the way. Anyway, the DUP said that they are going to definitely allow for the situation to improve in Northern Ireland, and their parliament, which is known as Stormont, will be allowed to reopen. Yesterday, Saturday, it did, and we got a new First Minister, Michelle O'Neill, basically the Prime Minister or the First Secretary or whatever you want to call her, but the leader of the Parliament in Northern Ireland. Now, the interesting thing about her is that she's Sinn Féin. The interesting thing about Sinn Féin is they are the IRA, but their political wing, as it was known. And they have basically ditched all the weapons and everything from the Troubles, i.e. Civil War. Why the hell it was called Troubles, I've got no idea. I grew up through the Troubles, not in the Troubles, through the Troubles. You see it on the news all the time. They bombed Manchester, the Arndale Centre in Manchester, that post box near where it used to be Marks and Spencer's is, but I think it's one of the posher shops now. That was where the van parked, and it basically destroyed the centre of Manchester. A massive bomb. There were bombs all over London. Thousands of people got killed. And fair play to Michelle. She did say that she apologised for all the deaths through the Troubles, Civil War, that occurred. The majority of which were caused by, not her necessarily, but certainly the IRA, which turned into the Sinn Féin. Meanwhile, the DUP, who were also dropping bombs and shooting people and blowing people up at Enniskillen and places like that, they've all kind of agreed now to agree. Now, it's a power sharing thing, because you've got Sinn Féin who want to join the Southern Ireland and make Ireland one country again, as it used to be many, many years ago. And then you've got the lady in the red and white, and she is the leader of the House for the DUP, and they want the Northern Ireland to remain part of the United Kingdom and not part of Southern Ireland. They want to keep their independence from Ireland but keep in the United Kingdom. Now both of these have got the same powers, although the Sinn Féin person, because they've got the most members of Parliament, i.e. the most MPs, she is the leader, and the DUP, they are the deputy leader, but they have, like I say, they have to agree on things, and they've already said in their opening speeches that they disagree on what they want for Ireland, but you've also gotten the main problem of them agreeing on lots of stuff as well, which is quite worrying. But I don't know how long it'll last. It'll be interesting to see if they pose for this photograph in 12 months' time. That's all I'm saying. I just hope, though, that the people of Northern Ireland get the government that they deserve, and someone who's actually going to turn their country around and get them back on their feet again. Apparently I'm live on YouTube. Let's have a look. Yep, I'm live on YouTube, just in case you didn't know. Obviously if you're watching this as a pre-recording, I'm not. Martin Baker, have you been to the Corner? That's the restaurants complexy thing. What is it? It's called the Food at the Mill or something. No, I haven't. I don't go to restaurants or pubs or anything like that unless there's only alcohol and no meals. Anyway, that's Northern Ireland. Then we had a third story this week, a third main story. Just give Northern Ireland to Ireland, they don't offer much. It's not quite that easy, is it? If you lived in Northern Ireland and you wanted to be part of the UK, you'd be a bit upset. And that's what caused all the problems back in the day, in the 70s and 80s. Wednesday, an incident in London, in Lambeth, in London. A suspected acid attack, certainly a chemical attack, on a woman and two small children. The assailants escaped from the scene, but many other people were injured from this corrosive liquid, including firefighters and ambulance personnel and pedestrians who were trying to help these three people who'd been attacked by the acid. So yeah, that's all what was going on there. Sorry, I was just reading what was going on, and I think it's just people saying hello to each other again. Thursday, the 1st, comes along, and 35-year-old Abdul Azadi is the guy who people, or the police, are looking for as a suspect for the attack on the streets of Lambeth. He is described as the prime suspect, and they release an image of him, and it looks like he too has had a pretty nasty injury to his right eye and right side of his face as well. And he was an immigrant who came over on the back of a lorry. He was declined asylum. In the meantime, got done for some kind of sexual offence and put on the sex register, but then got given asylum, so was legally allowed to be here and lived in Newcastle. But turns out that this poor woman is known to him. Now, we don't know what the relationships are to them and the children, but either way, it just seems absolutely horrific that someone thinks that this is a way to proceed. Sean's been in the corner, I haven't been in the corner. By the time Friday the 2nd of February came along, police were looking for the alkaline, I think it is now, attacker. What we don't understand is why they didn't find him by Friday. Because let's be honest, you know, if you watch Hunted, they can find people very quickly. I admit they've got a camera crew following them around, so it probably makes it a bit easier and things are a little bit more modified. But if you've got half your face missing, one would assume that you'd be spotted by someone, a member of the public or whatever, and they would have a chat. Matt Francis, hope you had a good weekend. Munching pizza, looking forward to the news roundup. A bit of humour makes my week. Yeah, we talk about the dark stuff at the moment, but I do try and put a bit of humour on it. where you can. It's got to be done tastefully though, hasn't it? Anyway, this guy seems to have vanished into what is supposedly thin air. The last sightings of him were at, hang on, let's make this a bit bigger so I can read it better. Right, number one is Clapham, South London. He attacks, he boards a train at Clapham South Tube Station. He then goes to King's Cross. He then gets seen at Caledonian Road, Tesco. Then he goes back to King's Cross, at which point he disappears. He catches a train southbound on the Victoria line, and this is all within an hour and a half of the initial attack, and he's just vanished. Now, I genuinely mean this. I hope he's got into a park somewhere really quiet and died a horrific death, because that's the only thing that is suitable for someone who can do this kind of thing to anyone, but particularly where there's children present as well. It is just sick in the head. However, we're now on Sunday the 4th. Bearing in mind, this occurred on Wednesday the 31st. We're on Sunday the 4th, and they still haven't got him. He is still free. He is still out and about, and there's no CCTV images of him, and there's no sightings of him pretty much since the night of the attack. It absolutely makes no sense that you can just disappear. Like I say, I hope he's just crawled under a rock and snuffed it, and we find his body in about 6 months' time. But yeah, absolute scum of the earth, people like that, and I have no time for them, mainly because I have no people for time like that. Anyway, I need a drink because, like I said before, I'm not so well, so I'll have to keep having a drink every now and then. Was the women and children he attacked related to him, Masters and Matt? We're not really sure, to be fair. Martin Baker, are you something to do with this restaurant? Mosey on down to the steps sometimes, have a real good mocha order. I can't do coffee. If only we were an island like Australia and able to stop all these freaks getting into our country. Yes, Sean, irony will get you nowhere. Anyway, a week's roundup. It's the news roundup of the week. News roundup of the week. So, Monday, good news if you're a royalist. King Charles and Kate were both discharged from hospital. Kate had been in there for a couple of weeks after abdominal surgery, and King Charles had been there after having someone poke around his bumhole because he had an enlarged prostate, apparently. Government are working into banning disposable vapes and all the colourful packaging and flavours. I mean, I think it's about time I took a cut, or at least got some payment, because people seem to get a payment for not doing anything with the government. I've given them so much advice that they seem to be taking over these last 2 years. I mean, I've been on about this for ages. Yeah, so I will accept a small advisory payment from the government, because you do seem to be taking my policies. The big question is it too little too late? Because I brought this subject up getting on for 12 months ago. Most people I know who vape, who never smoked before, have got permanent coughs, and one of them told me today, I haven't seen him for a while, that he's trying to give up vaping, but he can't do because he's now addicted to the nicotine. Never smoked a cigarette in his life apart from the odd night out when he was a teenager, and he's in his 30s now. So yeah, it's absolutely insane that this is going on, and people are you're buying these cheap nasty things and putting it in your lungs, and then wondering why people are dying. Well, let me think. In America, there's already a lot of evidence saying that particularly youngsters are becoming ill and being hospitalised from excessive vaping. And I've always said that vaping was meant to be something that you did if you craved a cigarette. So if you craved a cigarette, you'd have a tote on your vape, and that would take the craving away. But people, you walk down the street, it's like following Thomas the Tank Engine or Ivor the Engine. Just smoke everywhere, and kids are doing it. There was that kid, you remember, the other week, it was at the Wigan Man United match, who got caught on camera, and he was 10 or something, in his little Wigan shirt, having a good old vape on a thingamabobby. Um, run it. I bet Charles didn't sit in a corridor for 3 days before he got out of bed. Well, no, because it was private, to be fair. He sat on his throne in the hallway. Very good. French farmers start blocking roads, i.e. motorways, and towns over low prices of produce and green tape over green policies. So basically, the European government, which we're no longer under, are putting all these policies in for the farmers to make them more environmentally friendly, but it's costing them money, more money than what they normally got, and they're having stuff removed from them, i.e. supplements and grants given to them, but they have to spend more money in order to be greener, in order for their food to be taken by the supermarkets. But then they've got cheap imports, including from Ukraine. I suppose the French government think that they're doing that in a way to help Ukraine, but it's actually detrimental to the French farmers. And one thing the French can do, I'm not a big fan of the French, I'll be honest, not many British people are, mind you, they're not big fans of us either, but you've got to admire them. They know how to go on strike, and they know how to hold protests, and they know how to march. They're pretty good at all that kind of thing. It was meant to be a healthy alternative to smoking. The problem with most of these vapes, people are cheap, unregulated. Yeah, exactly. They are, the medical ones would be better for you, but all this crap with all these, I mean, what are these chemicals you're putting in your lungs? Absolutely ridiculous. Tuesday the 30th of January, Israeli forces disguised as doctors get into a hospital and kill 3 of the Hamas terrorists in the West Bank. This is not Gaza. It might not have even been Hamas, it might have been the other ones who were up there. I don't think it is Hamas. Satellite images show at least half the buildings have been destroyed or severely damaged in Gaza. And this is what I've been saying from day 2, day 3, certainly from the first time I spoke about this on the news bit that I do, that this is at the very least ethnic cleansing. This is basically, we'll just wipe the Palestinians and Gaza off the map, and then we'll move our people in. And I still say that they knew damn well what the Hamas were going to do and allowed it to happen, so they would have the excuse and the backing of people like America and the UK, who just seem to turn a blind eye to what is going on. Although more recently they have started being a little bit, whoa, hang on a minute. But it's too late, too many people have already died. I'm not protecting Hamas at all. Hamas should be destroyed. But they can, as I've said all along, Israel has got some of the best weapons in the world. They do not need to carpet bomb a country to get rid of the people they want to get rid of. They know where these people are. It's been reported that they've started flooding the tunnels. Well, that's brilliant, because that's where these people are hiding. So flood the tunnels by all means. By all means, go in and kill these terrorists. By all means, if there's a building or a car with these terrorists in, destroy it. Fine, but you don't have to kill all these innocent civilians as you go along. There you go. We've got a massage. But anyway, we'll have to wait and see. What we're doing. So, sorry Martin, you're just writing rubbish that's not really relevant. So anyway, more protests by farmers in France on Tuesday. And Elon Musk says he's put a chip in successfully into someone's brain. And you're like, my God, what the hell are you doing, man? But it turns out it might actually be a bad thing, because people who are paraplegic, generally their brains are okay. They just can't move limbs of their body. Therefore, they can't talk, they can't type or do a lot of movement, but they can still think. And some of these people have been proven before with experiments externally that they can actually control things like mobile phones and tablets and things like that. And if you remember, what was he called? The guy in the wheelchair, the scientist guy. You know that one. He used to use his eyes to smell. Andy the cyclist is here. Hello, Andy the cyclist. Welcome. Wednesday, the 31st of January. This is the COVID inquiry, and it was in Scotland. And Nicola Sturgeon, she cried tears. Some said they were crocodile tears. She... I don't quite know where she was coming from, but at some points I actually agreed with what she said more than I agreed with what Boris was saying. Other times I'm just like, what are you on? What are you doing? What are you talking about? And obviously we've already talked about some of the messages that haven't been deleted, because a lot of her WhatsApp messages got deleted. She even admitted to deleting them, but she made notes of them, and she's added the notes in of them rather than the whole things. The whole thing just seems corrupt beyond belief. But I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that the Tories are innocent in this by any stretch of the imagination. I still give people, at least for the first 6 months, the benefit of the doubt, because it's the first time we've had a pandemic of any kind worldwide that's killed as many people as this one has killed. And we didn't know how many it would kill. I mean, we could all be dead by now if it had been handled, you know, in a more lackadaisy way. We don't know, even if it had been handled in a more lackadaisy way. Maybe 20 times the amount of people would have died if we'd have not had lockdowns. We don't know. We'll never know. But anyway, Sturgeon does seem to be crying crocodile tears, and I kind of go on that. Talking of leaders that we really love, also on Wednesday, the 21st of January, Vladimir Putin launches his election campaign. Because, yeah, he needs to have an election campaign, doesn't he? Because he's at such risk from all the really unprisoned, undead opposition leaders that he's got fighting against him. Although I can't think of any offhand, because they're either dead or in prison. But never mind, Vladimir. At least you're doing the right thing by protecting yourself, because that's all that really matters. And it's got to be said, it is all that matters, because he doesn't care about anything other than himself. Meta, Twitch, TikTok, Snap, Discord and others got a grilling from Congress over their handling of, well, I wouldn't say it was hate necessarily, but certainly content on their platforms which has been created by their platforms and been allowed to go on their platforms that can cause massive amount of distress, particularly to youngsters, particularly to under 17-year-olds, many whom commit suicide or harm themselves or have severe mental health issues due to what they see, hear and end up watching. Excuse me again. But they got told, and Zuckerberg got told, that you have blood on your hands, because they've been told and told and told what's going on and done nothing about it, because it affects their revenue apparently. Although technically, if you're underage, you shouldn't be on the platform, and you certainly shouldn't be able to watch the adverts. So I think the whole thing is absolute nonsense. Life was better without Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Snap, Discord, Instagram and all the others. But this is where we are now, and it's not going to go away. We have to put up with it. Putin is perfect, he will tell you that himself. Which one of him though? Because there's about 7 of them, isn't there? And I think the real one's dead. If you watched early episodes or late episodes last year of What a Week That Was, which was this show's predecessor on a Saturday. Anyway, yeah, Zuckerberg stood up and turned round at the Congress, and he spoke directly to the families of some of the children who had killed themselves because of content they'd been able to watch on various platforms, and apologise for it. But whether it actually makes any difference or not, I've no idea, and I very much doubt it. Which is the worrying thing. It's really bad that it's something that can be solved moderately easily, especially in today's technology. So why can't they do it? Just Putin it out there. I think Putin may win the election, just a hunch. I'm not sure. I think he's got some heavy competition this time. mainly is war in Ukraine. I think a lot of people in Russia are a little bit against it, so I imagine he'll win, but I imagine the vote will be a lot lower than what it has been before, even though you're supposed to vote if you're in Russia. Meanwhile, another tragic story on Wednesday. A man, 42, charged with the murders of the 15 and 16-year-old boys in Bristol, which we covered last week, which was a tragic murder by a number of people of these two young lads who were walking down the streets, although someone said they'd been on a bus as well. But either way, there's no excuse to be going around killing or stabbing people. We've got a knife problem in the UK. We know we've got a knife problem in the UK, and I don't necessarily think that banning Rambo knives, zombie knives makes any difference, because the majority of knives that get used are kitchen knives and steak knives, and like we said last week, plastic knives. You can easily sharpen one of them up. Even a chopstick you could turn into a weapon. Not that I'm advising you do that, obviously. Meanwhile, on Thursday, the 1st of February, four more charged with the murders of the Bristol teens, including teenagers themselves. A 15 and 16-year-old have also been charged, which are the same age as the two young men who lost their lives. Farmers moved protests to Brussels. This is in Europe, including lighting fires, and they also took lots and lots of tyres with them, and blocked various government buildings around the place with these massive tyres. I don't know where they got the tyres from, but you're going to need a bigger brush, that's all I'm going to say, if you're going to tidy that up. There's only one sport I follow, and that's F1. And it turns out Lewis Hamilton's going to drive Ferrari after 12 years at Mercedes. Couldn't care less. I think the guy's a complete dead. The Japanese monkey was captured in Scotland, which we haven't covered yet. Trust me, there's a video clip coming up in a bit. Meanwhile, on Friday, two 16-year-olds get a life sentence, minimum 20 and 22 years, for the murder of Brianna, and this was in Culcheth, which isn't that far away from here in Cheshire. Basically, a boy and a girl have been named. I'm not naming them, and I'm not going to show you pictures of them because I don't think they're not the victim. I always say the victims are the people we should be talking about. You know, when there's the terrorist attack in Manchester, they always name the bomber, and I'm like, no. I even get in contact with whichever news channel's doing it and say, you do not name the bomber. They get told if they kill themselves, they get immortality. Every time you mention their name, that makes them even more immortal. You're just giving them what they wanted when they carried out the horrific attack. What you say is, they killed so-and-so and 21 others, or whatever it was. So it was a terrorist who killed so-and-so and so many others, and rotate the names around so we remember the names of the victims, not the names of the perpetrators. And Brianna, who was a transgender girl, was lured to a death, and these two had been conspiring about it, talking about it, writing notes about it, fantasizing about it for weeks. They even tried drugging Brianna earlier, and it turns out the girl had been expelled from another school for drugging another girl. But the school that she went to, which was Brianna's school, hadn't been informed that that's why she got kicked out of that school. And you're like, what is going on with the school system? But no, these two should be locked up for life. And I hope they live very long lives. I really do. Inside prison. Because, yeah, that's what they deserve. Protests are sprouting up in Brussels, you say? Oh, very good. Very good. This is the kind of humour I have to put up with, you know. I'm trying to do not a serious news broadcast, but, you know, it's covering serious subjects, and we've got Brussels sprout jokes. We've already covered Saturday. Today, a grandmother was killed by a dog attack. Apparently 2 EXL Bullies in Essex. A man has been arrested who's known to the lady, and I think they'd refer to this person as some kind of relative, but I didn't quite catch what the word was. So maybe a through marriage kind of relative, I don't know. Both dogs were destroyed at the time. I mean, I don't blame the dogs. I never blame the dogs. I always blame the people who own the dogs. Because a lot of these people who've got dogs like Bully XLs, which now have to be licensed, So there could be other crimes coming if, I mean, obviously they're out of control, so there's a crime for that, they kill someone, there's a crime for that. But they weren't licensed, which was a week or two ago, they had to be licensed by law. That's another crime that this person's committed. But it's just horrendous. You never hear of, a tabby cat ripping someone apart. It's just horrendous. But like I say, it's got nothing to do with the dogs. It's just the way they've been brought up. And they've been often, you walk around an estate, particularly a council estate, particularly an inner city council estate, and you see all these, usually guys walking around with these dogs that are like that, walking along. And it's like, look at me, I'm hard, I've got this dog. They're only trophy things. They're not trained. They're not looked after. They're not told what's right and wrong. I mean, I've got a cat. You can't train cats. But if I say no to my cat, she'll stop doing whatever she's doing and she'll wander off and do something else. And if I'm putting food out on the floor and she's sat next to me and I say no, she will not go for the food while I'm putting it out. And then when I've finished, I can walk away and she still won't go for the food. And then I say, go on then, and then she'll eat it like a dog does. If I can train a cat, and I'm not a cat trainer, I'm no Barbara Woodhouse, if I can't really sit, she wouldn't do that. But if I can train a cat, surely to God, you can teach a dog to be calm enough not to kill people. I'm not saying, anything else, but it's just absolutely shocking. Anyway, this brings us to the news reported around the world this week. Now, this is news usually from Australia and America, because, well, that's where the news usually is. And we are going to be looking at how they look at the news from around the world. No, it's Aya Kelly. It's only EXL Bullies that have got this license thing, because they're the ones that have killed more people. So it's the EXL Bully. I don't think it's British Bulldogs or anything like that. It's just the EXL. But if you're unsure, go on the government website and just look it up or just Google it. I'm not an expert on these things. I just kind of look at what's going on and discuss it. But I think if you've just got a dog, I think you're all right with it. The thing I'd do though is, when you have to have a dog chipped nowadays, I'd have a blood sample taken of the dog as well. And if there's excessive fouling in an area, I would have the excessive fouling tested and then paired with the blood sample of the dog, and then find the owner of it for not picking up their doggy poo. And people say, well, you've got a cat, cats poo everywhere. My cat doesn't, she only poos in the litter tray. And I mean, she only poos in the litter tray, even in the summertime. I open the door, she goes out, I might not see her for like 4 or 5 hours, but she'll come in and have a poo in a litter tray and then go back out again. Like, for God's sake, why don't you do like other cats and poo in other people's gardens? But no, she won't do it. Not trained her to do that yet. Anyway, world news. Here is the news. Australia. Inflation falls faster than expected, boosting predictions of an internet rate hold next month. Now, everyone keeps going on about the UK government and all this kind of stuff and what's going wrong, and European government and everything. And I keep pointing out it's all over the world. Inflation is falling faster than expected. Australia's had the same problem. God knows why. They're literally on the other side of the planet. Deepening expectations, the Reserve Bank will keep interest rates on hold when it meets next week. New data shows that the 12-month to December, the consumer price index rose to a 2-year low of 4.1%, despite expectations of 4.3%. So, okay, the interest rate is lower, but it's still high for Australia. And their interest rates have gone up, their mortgages have gone up and everything. Mind you, we might not have to worry about it for too long, because there's a large asteroid heading towards Earth. It's described as potentially hazardous. A potentially hazardous asteroid the size of a sports stadium will zoom past Earth in the coming days, according to NASA. It's expected to make its closest approach to Earth early on Saturday morning. Oh, we're still here, and it's Sunday. So, breathe again, folks. Lewis Hamilton, who cares, don't care. Just hope. What I really hope is that Actually, let's go back to that, because I really despise. He's a good driver, don't get me wrong, but I just don't like him as a human. But what I'd really love is for him to win the World Championship, dominate the season in the Mercedes, and then have to leave it to go to Ferrari and end up like midfield. Oh, that'd be hysterical. Oh, that would make me happy. I wouldn't mind Verstappen losing this year for that. Or Lando Norris not getting it for the first time, just for that to happen. That'd be the funniest thing ever. Palestinians are eating grass. We are dying slowly as Gaza spirals towards a full-scale famine. Some Palestinians have been forced to eat grass and drink polluted water in order to stay alive. Yeah, because Israel is basically performing ethnic cleansing, and some people are even calling it genocide. We looked at the what genocide meant last week, and that is the eradication of a race, religion, or country. And it does feel like they are trying to do that, but I'd still go for ethnic cleansing at the moment. But yeah, definitely illegal. Boeing being sued by shareholders following mid-air MAX 9 blowouts. Boeing has been sued by shareholders who say the company prioritised profit over safety and misled them about its commitment to making safe aircraft prior to the January the 5th mid-air cabin panel blowout on Alaskan Airlines 737 MAX 9. So yeah, basically the shareholders are saying, whoa, hang on a minute, because you're so crap and we've got money invested in you, we've lost a lot of money, we need to get that money back. So they are suing Boeing for being money-grabbing bastards. But they won't be suing Boeing if Boeing was actually doing the job properly and making them loads of money. So I think you chuck that one out the open. Well, I'm going to say chuck it out the window, but you don't need to. There's a big gap there. Just chuck the lawsuit out the gap. Mark Zuckerberg, as I've just said, apologises to family for social media's impact on kids. Mark Zuckerberg delivered a surprise apology to the families of victims online child sex abuse in the middle of a heated Senate hearing on Capitol Hill. In a stunning move, the billionaire boss of Meta stood up from his chair and turned to face the back of the room where the parents held pictures of their children who they had said had been harmed by social media. I am sorry for everything you have all been through, and we will endeavour to make things right in the future, he basically said. A wild video shows a brave 12-year-old girl swing a huge snake like a hammer thrower to save her pet guinea pig. Now sadly you can't see it on the picture, but I've seen the video, and she's got the tail end of the snake and she's swinging it around, and in the mouth of the snake is a white fluffy thing, and that's her guinea pig. The 12-year-old niece of a popular Australian radio host grabbed the massive snake, swinging it around like a hammer thrower to rescue her pet guinea pig from its jaws. Brisbane radio host Kip Reitman, that's a radio name, isn't it? What other job could he possibly have? Kip Reitman shared the footage to Instagram of his niece Rosie jumping into action after an 8-foot-long python attacked her beloved pet Maxi Bomb in the family's backyard. Brave girl though, but I mean, I suppose you have to be in Australia, don't you? Damning report on COVID failures, such as keeping schools closed, masking outside, led to eye-wateringly high death rates. This is America, remember. Doctors have released a damning new report in America's failures during the COVID pandemic. Like I said, it's not just the UK, it's all over the world. We've never experienced anything like it before. Revealing that keeping schools closed for longer period than necessary and forcing people to mask outside led the country to experience eye-wateringly high death rates compared to the rest of the world, which includes us. Per capita, their death rate sadly was a lot higher. Ex-senior Boeing manager warns flyers to avoid the 737 MAX 9 jets. This is an ex-senior Boeing manager, and he says, I would absolutely not fly a MAX airplane. Wow, talk about kicking a company when it's down. Former high-level Boeing managers and engineers have issued startling warnings for flyers to avoid the aeroplane giant's troubled 737 MAX 9 jets as the model once again takes to the skies. I would absolutely not fly in a MAX aeroplane, one-time senior Boeing manager Ed Pearson bluntly told the LA Times of the model, which recently saw a door plug blow out mid-air. I mean, I must admit, I'm not an expert on these things, but the 737 MAX is the same aeroplane that had the anti-stall problems with the software, where I think one went down in Ethiopia, one went down somewhere else. Many hundreds of people lost their lives, and Boeing was saying, "No, it's not a problem. It's not a problem." They got grounded worldwide, and turns out they'd done a software update which was wrong, and basically when it went to anti-stall, instead of sorting the anti-stall out, it kind of kept it in a stall, and that's why the planes just literally fell out the sky. And now it turns out that the bolts and things work loose unless they are maintained properly, and no one was told to maintain them properly. So yeah, I think you're probably better walking wherever you're going. Pakistan ex-PM Imran Khan and wife jailed for 14 years in graft case. Pakistan former Prime Minister Imran Khan, ex-cricketer, and his wife Bashira Khan were each sentenced to 14 years in jail in a case related to illegal selling of state gifts, his party said. The verdict also includes a 10-year disqualification from holding public office. Now, bearing in mind that Imran Khan was Prime Minister, was ousted, replaced by another government, and then this government, because the population wanted Imran Khan back, have been trying to get rid of Imran Khan. He's been into jails, courts so many times, and not only has he been jailed for this, but later on this week, him and his wife were jailed for an extra 10 years each because their marriage wasn't described as legal in Pakistan. So God knows what's going on. But yeah, it does seem, I don't know, democracy, whenever it's around, just seems to cause problems, doesn't it? I mean, it's like us at the moment. You either vote for Keir Starmer, who's going to be the most dangerous Prime Minister we've ever had, or Rishi Sunak, who's like one of the most useless Prime Ministers we've ever had, however still one of the best ones we've had in the last 10 years. Soon in custody after posting sick video with father's severed head on YouTube. Oh, son, not soon. A 33-year-old Pennsylvania man was taken into police custody after allegedly posting a disturbing video holding up his father's severed head online. Police found the beheaded body in a Midtown Township home after responding to a report of a death just after 7 p.m. on Tuesday. And this, severed head. Horrendous. Mysterious noise irking Tampa residents may be fish mating loudly. Apparently it's a pretty uncommon phenomenon. I mean, it is something like a phenomenon. Residents of Tampa, Florida have reported hearing strange noises coming from the bay for years, and now scientists believe it may be fish mating very loudly. According to reports, the deep vibrating sound has been plaguing residents since at least 2021, prompting several calls to police, according to WTVT. But the most unnerving aspect has been not knowing the source of the racket. Well, it turns out it's bonking. If the water's wobbling, don't jump in. Something like that. Carnival Cruise Ship crew rescued 2 kayakers stranded in Gulf of Mexico. Crew members of a Carnival Cruise Ship rescued 2 men stranded in the Gulf of Mexico. Workers aboard the Carnival Jubilee spotted the pair paddling in a small yellow and orange kayak off the coast of Izamines, Mexico. The men paddled the kayak alongside the large cruise ship, and then the crew helped them up onto the vessel. Don't know what, no explanation as to why they were there, what they were doing, but very lucky, the pair of them. Jamaica travel warning issued after 65 murders in just 4 weeks. Now, Jamaica is not a big country. The State Department issued a stark travel warning for another Caribbean nation, cautioning that Jamaica has been rocked by 65 murders in January. The US Embassy in Jamaica upgraded the travel advisory to a level 3, which is reconsider travel, which is just one level short of the more severe that warns American against travel altogether. I mean, it's not like we haven't had warnings. I know it's not Jamaica, but if you've ever seen Death in Paradise, I mean, it's worse than going to Emmerdale. There's a murder every bloody week there. So yeah, sadly, Jamaica's turning into a murder hotspot. Another snake. It's in Australia. Who'd have thought? In an adrenaline-fueled haze, I managed to unravel it myself with a pair of kitchen thongs, says the owner. A deadly snake wraps around a cat's neck. A Queensland woman has had the fright of her life after discovering her pet cat locked in a chokehold by an eastern brown snake. What is it with snakes and stuff? It's just, ugh. I mean, they do what they do, I suppose. Maybe I should calm down a bit. I don't know. New cyclone threat looms for Australia. There are fear Queensland could be hit with a third tropical cyclone for the summer, with a new low pressure system forming off Kayakers yesterday. Whenever this was. Chances are it could form into a cyclone in the Coral Sea before making landfall on the Queensland coast. Now, again, I mentioned that Australia is on the other side of the planet. I also mentioned that we've had extreme weather storms. We're up to the letter L in the UK, and a few storms have been named by other countries in Europe and around us, like Norway. So we've been well past, we've been to P, we named them all. And it's our winter, and we're getting more storms than we normally get. And in Australia, it's their summer, and they're getting storms, but there's the cyclones, because it's the way everything spins the opposite direction. So it's not a hurricane, it's a cyclone. I don't know why they call them different things, but it's basically the same thing. And they're getting a record number of them as well. So the climate is changing, but a lot of people say it is just natural. It might be slightly accelerated by human activity, but it is a natural phenomenon now. Because don't forget, we had the Ice Age. And don't forget, where in the UK there were tropical rainforests for millions of years. So, you know, things do ebb and flow. Should tripods be banned in gyms? Well, that was my nickname, and I was banned from going to a gym. No, seriously. What this is about is the trend now of people showing off their moves in a public gym, usually shirtless if you're a man, or wearing skimpy clothing like this woman here. But obviously there are people in the background who may not want to be filmed. Intergalactic, planetary, invested galactic. Hiya Hamilton, Cave and Lewis, hope you're good. But yeah, it is a weird thing. You know, if I was in a gym, and you'd be surprised even my physique, that I don't go to the gym. I know. I did join the gym. I joined Fitness First, but I spent most of my time in the marble sweat room. It was a Fitness First that ironically turned into a chippy next to the stadium in Wigan. And now it's been turned into something else, I don't know what. But anyway, yeah, that was decades ago. I think they should be banned because I think, I don't know, it's just invading people's privacy. If you're grunting and sweating away, or if you know, no one knows you're going to the gym and then someone films you and posts it, I think that shouldn't be allowed. So yeah, if you want to film yourself, do it in your bedroom or in your garage or something. What is it like to use Apple's new Vision Pro VR headset? Well, as long as no one else has used it before you, probably quite safe to a degree. However, if someone else used it before you and they've got an eye infection, you're probably going to get an eye infection, so it's not going to be very good. But anyway, you have to be a real techie to like Apple's Vision Pro. For starters, you can rarely move your head when using the virtual reality headset, or you have to start again, and your eyes and hands are doing almost all the work. I was among the few hundred people who lined up before sunrise Friday outside Apple New York City's flagship store for the launch of the company's futuristic $3,500 gizmo. Once inside the credit showroom, I registered for a Vision Pro demonstration. VR will never happen. Only motion tripods should be banned in gyms. The chances of anything coming from Mars are 1,000,000 to 1. Yeah. Biden administration demands price cuts from grocery chains, saying he will call you out. President Biden's administration is taking aim at grocery chains, sending an election year suggestion that the companies lower prices on goods from milk to eggs and bread. Our message is very clear, a very clear one, that the president has and will continue to lean into, which is you're a company whose input prices have come down. You're not passing these savings on to the customers. Well, they never do they? I mean, the big petrol companies and energy companies say, well, we ordered the gas and paid for the gas or the petrol when the prices were high. So even though the petrol prices have come down now, we can't put the prices down yet. But as soon as the prices go up, even though the petrol that's coming to the petrol station, they bought at the cheaper price, they put the price up straight away. And I think Tesco, Asda, Sainsbury's, Morrison's should all be called out for their price hikes during the last 2 years since COVID, because they have really rattled up. And you're not telling me that all these, yeah, there are some price hikes that are legitimate, but they have literally cashed in, and I think there should be inquiries into it. In fact, I think another bit of advice given by me, taken by Mr. Sunak. I think there is an inquiry looking into supermarkets' price structuring during the various crises that we've had recently. You're welcome, but I do expect a bit of a payback. DC judge scraps March 4th date for the start of Trump's January the 6th trial. The federal case against former President Donald Trump in connection with the January 6, 2021 Capitol riot will have to wait. The case judge announced that they vacated the planned March the 4th start date in a brief order, acknowledging that not enough progress has been made in pre-trial arrangements. The case against Trump in connection with the Capitol Hill riot has been delayed. It's going to be interesting to see if it actually happens before the election, which means he might not be in prison before the election, so he might win the election, but then get convicted of a crime whilst he's president, for a crime he committed whilst he was president. Fannie Willis admits to having personal relationship with Nathan Wilde, insists Trump's case shouldn't be tossed. I mean, that's all we need to do in it, just read the headline. There's so much humour in that, it's unbelievable. BBC staffer brands Jewish people Nazis and parasites, calls white people a virus in a disturbing social media posts. A BBC member of staff is under fire for a string of anti-Semitic Facebook posts in which he referred to Jewish people as Nazi apartheid parasites and called white people a virus. Don Quiver, senior scheduling coordinator and playout planner at BBC Three, made many of the troubling since deleted posts over the last few months. People like that should not be working in public situations and in public things. I mean, what's going on in Gaza with the Israeli army and everything is not the fault of Jewish people in the rest of the world. It's the fault of the Jewish government, and they're the people who should be held accountable. The IDF, the Israeli Defense Army, they should also be held accountable for what's going on there, not your regular Jewish people going on around the world. It's just ridiculous that people think that kind of thing. And it's not the first black person who has said that white people are parasites and things like that, and a virus. But again, you know, it's if we said that about people who are non-white, then we are racist, and we are. If we say that, not we are. But it often seems, this seems to be an exception rather than the rule, that if it's said the other way, it's fine. Oh, you can say that, that's all right. Which is why I don't go for any of this nonsense that this woke shite that people come up with. Ex-WWE honcho Vince McMahon under federal probe over sex trafficking allegations. I mean, he's not had any work done, has he? Jesus Christ. He's been someone's changing the term for privilege to virus. Oh right, yeah, there you go, lady. Yeah, we're not privileged anymore, we're now a virus. WWE co-founder Vince McMahon is under federal investigation of the allegations of sexual assault and sex trafficking against him. According to a report, prosecutors in New York have been in touch with the alleged victims of McMahon. People familiar with the investigation told the Wall Street Journal that he resigned last week from the WWE after a former employee, Janelle Grant, filed a lawsuit accusing him of sexual harassment, which again, if true, is an absolutely abhorrent and is not right for this world. A Utah teenager falls to death while taking photos on the edge of a canyon cliff, doing what he loved. It's one of them things again, isn't it? Where if someone dies, oh well, they died doing what they loved. You know, like back in the 60s, 70s and 80s in F1, there was a lot of fatal crashes. And it was like, oh, it's a tragedy, but they died doing what they loved. Yeah, I dare say they died doing what they loved, but it doesn't mean they wanted to die. It just meant they were doing something that they loved, and they died while doing it. There's a difference. Anyway, a Utah teenager plunged hundreds of feet to his death when he stepped to take photographs with buddies at a scenic overlook and fell over the edge. He was only 19 years old. Jonathan Fielding died in what authorities believe was an accident when he was hiking near Moonscape Overlook. He was an avid photographer, and yeah, it's shocking and terrible and a tragedy. And yeah, he was doing what he loved. That doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it right at all. It's still... God is a dreamboat. Oh, yeah, you're always one behind, aren't you? So I assume you're talking about Vince Mahan. Yeah. Because, no disrespect, this poor tragic young man is probably a little bit too young. 50 Cent blasts Mayor Adams' plan to give prepaid credit cards to migrants and says maybe we need Trump back. Rapper 50 Cent is no fan of Mayor Adams. He's got a plan to distribute $53 million to city migrants on prepaid credit cards, blasting the idea in an Instagram post. What the F, Mayor Adams? Call my phone. I don't understand how this works. Swear word, somebody explain, the rapper wrote after sharing a screen grab of the post coverage. So basically, Mayor Adams, who's basically like Andy Burnham up here and Sadiq Khan down in London, he's a dreambot as well, actually, thinking about it. Come on, calm yourself, Laney. He's come up with this idea of giving migrants, most of whom are illegal, that have come over the Mexican border and been shipped to New York, prepaid cards, whereas there are people who've been born and bred in New York who are literally living on the streets and freezing to death in the winters, are having massive drug problems and stuff like that, and get very little, if any, help other than from charities. And 50 Cent, bless his soul, is calling out Mayor Adams, rightly so. Israel drops newspaper-style warnings to Gaza Strip residents, saying Hamas has destroyed everything good and wake up. The Israeli Air Force dropped newspaper-style warnings to residents in central Gaza, calling for them to wake up to Hamas. While the Health Ministry linked the terror group claims, the Palestinian death toll is now over 27,000. The leaflet's written in Arabic, obviously. There'd be no point writing them in French, would there? I mean, come on. But yeah, this is... Remember what I said earlier on? Hamas has destroyed everything that's good. Yet Israel, in the last few months, couple of months even, coming up to 2 months now I think it is, have destroyed pretty much the entire Gaza housing. And they're calling out Hamas for destroying everything good. Pot, kettle, black. Again, not defending Hamas, but the way Israel's going around this is so wrong, it's unbelievable. 50p. Okay, fair enough. Fire erupts at a Russian oil refinery after Ukraine drone strike. Get in. A pair of Ukraine drones struck a major oil refinery in southwestern Russia overnight, sparking a fire according to reports. Ukraine's SBU security service was behind the operation on the refinery, which was in the Volgograd region and was owned by industry behemoth Lukoil. News outlets reported. Local media V1 published photographs that said it depicted an explosion during the overnight attack, and residents were told to not go near the area and keep their doors and windows shut because that seems to protect everything. Bear in mind that your doors and windows let stuff in, otherwise you'd suffocate. Think about it. A 13-year-old accused of killing grandpa on Denver bus because his leg blocked the aisle. No one was there with him during his last breath. A 13-year-old boy is accused of murdering a Colorado grandfather over a dispute he was blocking the aisle on a public bus. As relatives were told the man had died when they tried to file a missing person report days later. Richard Sanchez, 60, was killed only a few blocks away from his house. But again, the teenager killing someone. It doesn't say how, because the guy's leg was in the aisle and blocking it. I mean, a leg does not block an aisle unless he was, you know, I don't know, Sasquatch. A collection of 22 highly rare luxury cars, including Porsches and Ferraris, found in an old warehouse. Luxury car enthusiasts are abuzz over the remarkable discovery of 16 Ferraris and 6 Porsches inside an old warehouse in Belgium. The owner of the warehouse, in Brussels, found the 22 high-end vehicles and contacted Old Timer Fam, a car collection organisation, to have the cars evaluated. It was a load of highly rare Ferraris and Porsches, the classic car specialist said. Well, I don't know what kind of cars they were, but I imagine the Ferraris and Porsches. Tesla plunged. Now this only in Norway. Literally only in Norway. A Tesla electric car plunged into Norway fjord before screaming occupants rescued by a passing floating sauna. Your day goes from bad to worse. You're a Tesla for a start. That's pretty shit, isn't it? Then the thing ends up falling into some water, but not any water. It's a fjord, which is ice cold because it's winter. So you're now in one of the heaviest cars in the world in frozen water. And of course, all the electrics will up because it's an electric car. So you won't be able to open the doors or anything because they're all electrically operated. Who comes to your rescue? Because you're in Norway. A bunch of naked people in a sauna that's floating on the fjord. You could make this more Norwegian if you tried. A driver and passenger were saved after their Tesla plunged into icy waters of a Norwegian fjord by unlikely rescuers, a group of relaxing people on a floating sauna. The Tesla driver accidentally hit the gas, sending the car flying into the frigid waters of Oslo earlier this week. Witnesses said the car quickly began to sink with the 2 occupants screaming inside. It's a battery operated car, of course it's going to quickly sink. I'm sure I mentioned before, I've not had one for a while, but for quite a while on my reels on Instagram I used to get these videos, clips, and it was all CGI. It was cars doing stunts, so it was like, can a car jump over buses? How many buses can it jump over? Can it jump over all these ships and land on the ramp on the other side? And various cars, most of them failed, but 1 or 2 made it across, usually supercars, whatever. Whenever a Tesla come across, it just goes straight through the ramp, not even go over it, and crash into the first thing and explode in a ball of flames, and survival rate 0. So Tesla cars. I suppose one good thing is at least it didn't catch fire. Well, it probably did by the time they dragged it out. It's probably still burning now, to be fair. All the locals around just warming their hands up. What's the chances? Well, I suppose in Norway, a floating sauna. Why not? Another weird story. We're not on the weird stuff yet, but here we go. Oklahoma drag queen elementary school principal resigns amid outrage. Oklahoma drag queen elementary school principal. Just alone, you're like, what? Gets worse. The Oklahoma elementary school principal with a drag queen persona who had previously faced child pornography charges has resigned. Previously faced child pornography charges and is a drag queen elementary school principal has resigned. He submitted his letter of resignation on Thursday after all these revelations came out. How the hell are these things not checked beforehand? Okay, if you're a drag queen, fair enough, blah blah blah, don't do it at school, whatever you do in your own private things. But to be an elementary, which is like a primary school headmaster, when you've been charged or been faced charges of child pornography. What? Utah lawmaker proposes mandating potty training for kindergartens. A proposed Utah law would make it illegal for parents to send their kids to kindergarten without potty training them first. The bill, proposed by State Rep Douglas Welton, would also establish guidelines to refer a family to a social worker for not adhering to the policy change. Now, I've recently had 2 grandkids go to primary school or infant school or whatever they call it now, and the eldest was not potty trained, but because the age gap is quite small, the youngest I think was potty trained when they started. But the school were great about it. They were really, really good and really supportive and really helpful, and it also boosted his confidence as well. So kids learn at different speeds. So what happens if they don't get it? Only in America, really drag queen teacher. Thank you, Lainey. Yes, it does seem a bit weird that that's mandatory. I mean, yeah, okay, I know it takes time and all that, but isn't that what schools are there for? To teach people? And some parents are not capable of potty training their children. So what do? Never go to school. It's madness. A dead goose found in flight control system of crashed medical helicopter that killed 3. Now, remember, a few weeks ago, I think it was, there was a tragic helicopter crash with 3 medical workers in there. Anyway, they've done inquiries, and a dead goose was found inside the flight control system of the medical helicopter that crashed and killed 3 in Oklahoma. The goose was found embedded in the flight control servo, which is basically where the bit that spins round in the middle, in that. So the bird had flown underneath the rotors and actually got into the mechanism of it. Obviously, if it had flown into the rotors, it would have snapped the rotors off and it would have crashed anyway. Tragic case, but there were several geese that were found dead as well in the area. So one assumes that the geese either flew into the helicopter or the helicopter flew into the flight path of the geese, or maybe they were below when the helicopter was coming down. Either way, absolutely tragic, horrific accident. But if they found out what caused it, at least that gives the families, I suppose, some, I don't know, I was going to say comfort, but it's not comfort, is it? Not at all. But at least they know why it happened now, I suppose. Trump scores the biggest lead yet against Biden in new NBC poll. Former President Donald Trump scored his largest lead yet against President Biden in a new NBC poll, as voters gave the incumbent poor marks according to the board, across the board even. Trump 77 notched a 47 to 42% lead over Biden, which registered voters marking an increase from his 46 to 44 edge. So yeah, but this was in November and it's only just come to light now, so I don't know. Let's be honest, straw polls and polls like this don't normally give you the true thing until the actual election itself. Russian cosmonaut Oleg Kononenko sets world record for the longest time spent in space. Russian cosmonaut Oleg Kononenko has broken the world record for the most cumulative time spent in space. The 59-year-old has now spent more than 878 days and 12 hours in space, surpassing fellow Russian Gennady Padelenka, who set a previous record of 878 days, 11 hours, 29 minutes and 48 seconds in 2015. So yeah, he beat it by 12 seconds. But of course, it's got to be said, he's still up there. So he's not come down yet. So he's smashing it out of the park. The only problem is that when they've been up for that long, although I don't think he's done it in one go. I think he's done it over a number of flights up there, because that would be way too long to be up there. It'd be like years, literally. But when they come back down to Earth, because they've been up there for that long, the muscles have wasted away and they can't hold their own body weight, so they have to go onto machines to get the muscles and their arms and the legs and everything, and even their head. They can't hold their head up. It's a really bizarre thing. Anyway, one wishes him well for the future, and hope he gets down safely. Now, we've got the funny news. So this is the news that makes me go, or, 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 ugh. Either way, this is the news that makes me go, And what we've got this week is quite a bit of stuff, including, we didn't have one last week, so we've got a Banksy. We enjoy a good Banksy. I do like Banksy art. I think the humour is really good. So that's no loitering. We've got a few Elon Musks. Someone's put Elon Musk on his X, formerly Twitter. The first human received an implant from a Neuralink yesterday and is recovering well. Initial results show promising neuron spike detection. So that's what Elon Musk posted. And then if you play computer games like I do, and particularly survival horror games, someone's put, Michael Irving, the audio log you find in a trashed office in a sci-fi horror game. Which is exactly what I thought when I first read it as well. If you play these games, they're going, yes, we think the experiment is going well, and we're very happy with the outcome so far. We'll see how it progresses. And then further on in the game, the same scientist is like, oh my god, it's gone wrong, and he's got and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it does sound like the first one in said thing. I shouldn't have gone air because I've got a really bad throat. Hang on. UK begins review of supermarkets' loyalty card schemes. Now, I've been going on about this for a while, and I write in the local paper as well. I have a column in the local paper, and obviously I do this, and I do Wing and Watch and various other things, and I talk about stuff. And I've said for a long while, why do supermarkets, in order for us to get the best price, which can sometimes be better than half price on an item, need to know where we live, date of birth, how often we shop at their shop, how often we buy certain items, what our favourite items are. Why do they need all this information in order for us to get the discounts? I mean, if we want to collect, say, reward points, then it's up to us to give that information, but you're only getting 1p, although they've doubled it at the minute. You only get 1p point. Sorry, you only get 1 point, which is equivalent to 1p for every pound you spend. So in order to get £1 in vouchers, you have to spend £100 at Tesco, £50 at the moment because they've got this double points thing on. And for that they get all this information as well, which Tesco you went to, what time you went, all this kind of stuff. And I think there should be reviews, and I think there should be, like I say, people held accountable, because this is basically taking advantage of a situation where people want to pay the best prices, but in order to do that you've got to give away your personal information. I don't agree with any of that. In fact, don't tell anyone, but I have got a club card, but it's not got my date of birth on it. Well, it has got a date of birth, but not mine. And it's also got the name Anita. So Anita really likes buying lots of Guinness. That'll mess with their algorithms, won't it? Especially when you realise she's only 23. A kid's dream, a parent's nightmare. A 3-year-old Ethan needed to be rescued after a misadventure through a claw machines dispenser in a Gold Coast shopping centre. We see this every now and then, it pops up. A small child climbs in and into a one of these, grab a claw vending machines, and it says there 2 plays for $5. So I mean, I reckon $20 they'd be able to get him out anyway, because those things don't grab hard, so they'll just grab his head, pick him up and drop him down the hole. Anyway, they managed to get him out because there's doors on them things. It's not exactly big news, but a funny picture. Data grab. Data is now extremely valuable. Exactly. They sell the data on to other people. It's not just them who know it, and that's what annoys me. So like I say, I'm just messing with their algorithms. Poor old Guinness will be finding out that there's some 20-year-old woman in Wigan who likes drinking Guinness, and they'll be like, oh, this is a new market we never knew we had. Suspected spy pigeon is finally released after spending 8 months in jail. Indian police feared the bird was involved in Chinese espionage and launched a probe, and it's not the first time a bird has come under suspicion in the country, because we all know that pigeons, I mean, we used pigeons in World War One to get messages around. In fact, some pigeons were given cameras and they would take an image every now and then so that you'd be on the front line and you'd send it to wherever you wanted to send it to, and it would fly there. But while it was flying, it had this camera, and it would take. Okay, they weren't very good pictures, but they were better than no pictures of what's going on. Of course, the cameras weighed about 4.5 tons, so the pigeons kind of walked. They didn't really fly. Putin, but which one? Putin will laugh so loud the Kremlin will shake if UK missile test fails again. The Royal Navy is due to fire a nuclear weapon for HMS Vanguard within days, but it is not a response to Vladimir Putin flexing his nuclear muscles, according to an expert. Yeah, Putin thinks that we're rubbish. Who knew? Space junk is already piling up on Mars despite humans never setting foot on it. Boffins say space junk is already piling up on the planet, including bits of metal, landing equipment, heat shields, used parachutes, clipped rotor blades, drill bits and fabric netting. Well, yeah, because we're sending loads of probes up there. Every probe is junk, space junk, because they only last so long. The Perseverance Mars vehicles helicopter thing broke last week, so now that's just a bit of space junk on the planet. It's tragic. Chemical fugitive is sex offender who travelled 280 miles for attack. Abdul Shakur Ezin is accused of throwing a corrosive liquid at a woman and her 2 young daughters in an attack in Clapham, South London on Wednesday. Yeah. Again, British justice. US using alien tech handheld. Oh no, hang on, start again. US using alien tech handed down by builders of pyramids, claims conspiracy theorists. Evidence of an ancient nuclear war and clues to communication with alien civilization lies hidden beneath the sands of Egypt, claims an ancient civilization expert, Billy Carson. It's the way he tells them. Only half the people watching this will get that, probably less than half. A naked man plummets from tree and lands on taxi in front of bemused onlookers. Now, he doesn't look naked to me. They leaped out his bottom, but it does look like he's got boxers on. A shocking video has captured a nude man lying on his front over the back of a taxi after he fell from a tree on top of it in Medellin, Colombia, sparking panic among locals. It's raining men. Hallelujah, it's raining men. Hey, hey. They're all naked though, so yeah. Get something or they'll be obscene. It's raining men. A Pizza Hut store goes viral as typo sees closure for unforeseen genital surgery. The Pizza Hut restaurant in Timmins, Northern Ontario, posted an unfortunate sign in its window which read, "Due to unforeseen circumcisions, the dining room will be closed tonight." Oh dear me. You've got to blame autocorrect, haven't you? Yeah. Just bear with me a minute, I need to blow my nose, and it's a very unpleasant noise, so I am going to mute the microphone, talk amongst yourselves for a moment. Okay, let's carry on, shall we? Apologies about that, but you didn't want to hear that. No one wants to hear the Spanish Inquisition. No, it's wrong thing completely, you fool. Don't be a fool. Ancient Gaza pyramid like a Disney attraction after controversial new facelift. Restoring Gaza's pyramid of Menkaure is like straightening the Leaning Tower of Pisa, critics argue, as archaeologists and the Egyptian public clap back at the controversial project. So basically what they're doing is they're putting stones on that they think are similar to the stones that were on the pyramids when they were originally built. The problem is that we've kind of got used to seeing the pyramids, as you can see at the top of the picture, rather than the pyramids at the bottom of the picture. So the whole thing is complete nonsense. Omaze responds over saddest ever Grand Design's home after sale speculation. Chesil Cliff House appears to be one of the most doomed and possibly cursed homes in the UK, but Mays has steadfastly denied having an interest in buying it. Now, I'm a big fan of Grand Designs, and I vaguely remember this one, which was built on the side of a cliff, and it just went horribly wrong, and I think it ended up being bought by I think the people who originally started building it went bankrupt, had to sell it. Someone else bought it, they couldn't finish it, they went bankrupt, they had to sell it, someone else bought it, and now it's been finished many years later, and the rumours are that Amaze, you could win this lovely house. But I must admit, if I want something like that, I'd sell it, but I wouldn't apply for them, to be fair. Snow showers tipped to return to the UK next week. Weather map shows 70% chance of heavy snow. Snow is likely in parts of the country, although forecasters have also warned that unsettled and soggy conditions are also set to settle in across parts of the country towards the middle of the month. So basically, unusually for February, bearing in mind it's usually one of the worst months of the year for weather, is going to be a bad month for weather. Phew, who saw that coming? Google Maps user spots 12-metre wide flying saucer in Antarctica. The strange object on the coast of the Two Hummock Island near Maudley Peak appears to look exactly how you would expect an alien spacecraft from the 1960s to look. Yeah, that's why it's called a flying saucer. Of course, they've upgraded now because we've now got better technology from our sci-fi, so the spaceships don't actually look like saucers anymore now when people see them. Walker crisp flavours could be returning just weeks after being axed. Well, what did I say at the time? This is a bit of self-publicity, to be fair, about the channel, because people ask me quite a lot about how is the channel doing. Well, last week we had 413 likes, 146 shares and 94 comments, which isn't bad at all for a channel like this. We'll celebrate, we're looking at a Banksy. There we go. It's cool, that. If you look very closely, it's the riot police guy with the smiley face riding the horse, which of course has got a skull for a face. Jimmy Carr joke: if you know the difference between a kayak and a canoe, you probably don't know what it's like to have sex. Cruel, but probably true. And in Japan, they believe the tiger penis improves fertility even. But I think you really want to get pregnant, you're best off using a man's penis. Yep. Sorry, they made me laugh. I thought I'd put them up here because it's been a dark week. Oh, when your insurance won't cover your ambulance ride, but you have the AA. So it's basically what looks like someone being taken to hospital on the back of a low loader. And then this made me laugh as well. This is irrefutable proof that Scooby was a beagle. I thank you. Just love that. Kids today will never understand this. 8 AM, 100% on your Nokia phone. 8 PM, 99% on your Nokia phone. I mean, it wasn't quite like that, but it wasn't far off. You only charge your phone up like twice a week, didn't you, back in the day? Sad news as well. Norman Jewison, who died recently at the age of 97, leaves behind a legacy of socially minded movies. That includes his sci-fi warning about corporate power, greed and overreach, which was called Rollerball. And Rollerball was, when I was a kid, one of my favourite movies of all time. Not because of the political stuff, I didn't really notice any of that. It was just the fact it was cool, because they were playing hockey on ice with ball bearings being fired out of cannons with bikes with spikes on it. And the magazine I used to get, I think it was Action, they had a cover on it which was Death Games 2000, I think it was. Was it Death Game 2000 cover? And it was amazing because, hang on, what was going on here? Yeah, it was amazing because it was basically rollerball, but for kids, because obviously rollerball wasn't really for kids. So you can find it. I probably can't. I should have done this beforehand, but there you go. You know, what can you do? I don't know what's going on half the time because I'm always doing stuff. Death Game 2000. And it was Action Comic. Dum-de-dum-de-dum. Dum-de-dum. Action. There it is. It was 1999. Right, okay, bear with me. We're going to go on to a different screen here, but it's worth showing you. Whoops. We're not going to go on any screen because I've completely messed up. So this is a Saturday night gaming cam. But there you go. That was the Death Game 1999 cover. Let's get you in focus. There you go. From Action Comics, and that was one of my favourite covers of all time. I even cut that out and stuck it on one of my books at school, one of my exercise books, and because I liked it so much, I covered it in sticky back plastic, and because I liked it so much, when I finished the book, I actually cut it off the book cover and then stuck it on the wall as a poster because I thought that was amazing. But yeah, Action Comic and Death Game 2000. So there you go then. I'll tell you what, we don't have to get around on this thing, don't we? I'm directing, producing, presenting. I'm just doing everything. I'm like an ingenious. I even talk sense as well some of the time. Although some people might say I don't, but you know, it doesn't really matter, does it? You're allowed to disagree. Talking of cool images, that is a cool image as well, isn't it? China threatening UK with technology advanced AI weapons. Chinese operatives are threatening the UK with artificial intelligence. They may not even have the tech advancements too far off as they try and put the frighteners on to the West. Now, I said in the paper this week, and I think I said last week on here when we were on about the civilian army for the UK because of all the threats from all over the world, including China, that the next war will not be fought like, I think Russia's proved categorically that feet on ground warfare is no longer valid, it's no good, it's just useless. So the only way to do it is to cyberly attack infrastructure, so power stations, health services, transport networks, media outlets, banking outlets. It's all going to be done online. So even if you do get conscripted to join the army, you're probably going to do it on a computer in your bedroom, which would please a lot of people, to be fair. But I think that's where the next war is going to be fought. Meanwhile, how has this man not been caught yet? The cops have raided 5 homes in hunt for a Clapham chemical attacker, and they produced new pictures. The guy's got half a face. God's sake. Like I said, I hope he's in agony somewhere, dying very slowly. That's all I can say. Chuckle Brother legends, horrified as home is haunted by toilet flushing ghost. Television icon Paul Chuckle was left spooked out after discovering his 3-bed 17th century house is being haunted by a murderer who's spontaneously flushing his toilet. Now, pretty sure that the 17th century they didn't have flushing toilets. So why would a 17th century ghost flush a toilet? That would make no sense. Hitting doors, banging on walls, making noises, throwing things would make more sense. Secondly, very sadly, Paul's brother, because he was half of the Chuckle brothers, passed away a few years ago. Now, if there are such things as a ghost, which there aren't, then surely it's more likely to be his brother who's playing pranks on him by flushing the toilet. So yeah, it's not a 17th century bloody murderer. Absolute nonsense. It's his brother Barry who's flushing the toilet and spooking him out, because that's what you do. It's called to me, to you, to me, have a poo, you know. Anyway, to me, have a poo. Oh dear. Now, this is more I told you so. This is very much I told you so. for net zero, we're going to need more copper in the next 30 years than we have mined ever. Right, let me put you past. I've been saying since I've been starting doing these things, which is well over 2 years ago now, and I've been saying since everyone said electric cars are the future, how much copper are we going to have to dig up? How much copper are we going to have to dig up? It's not a case of, which I'm going to show on the next Wigan Watch, what's going on in Robin Park with the EV charge points that they're putting in. It's got nothing. It's not just a car park. You have to get cables around the whole planet. There's not enough copper to do that. But it's not one bit of copper. You've got the main bit of copper, and then you've got the outer bit of copper, because you've got positive and negative. That's how electricity works. But what have you got in between? Plastic. What have you got on the outside? Plastic. But because we have to put this copper in to charge cars, it's got to be thicker copper, it's got to be thicker wire, which means the plastic's got to be... It's not environmentally friendly, even on that level, basically. And now they've said we need to dig out more copper than we've dug out in history. Absolute nonsense. Get on the green hydrogen, sort that out. Okay? And if you don't, you've got me to answer to. Anyway, are you ready for a clip? Now, I can't hear this clip, but hopefully you can. This was to do with the monkey that that escaped from a zoo in Scotland. Well, I say a zoo, more of a wildlife park thing. And it'd been on the run, and I think it was away for about, well, just short of a week, and a bit of freedom, and it was doing all right. Anyway, this clip came up on the local news, not national news, and well, I clipped it. It's a bit of a bad clip. I've not edited it. It's just literally record, stop record, and I've not fine arted it, and it will play a couple of times so you get the gist of it, and hopefully you'll hear it.
An early morning visitor, but not a bird or squirrel feeding by the fence. Instead, a snow monkey who's on the run.
It's not every day that you kind of come to the window in your dressing gown and find something munching on your nuts, but there he was.
And there you go.
So he was shifty looking.
An early morning visitor, but not a bird.
So that's a little cheeky chappy who escaped.
Instead, a snow monkey.
I was lip reading that, by the way.
It's not every day that you kind of come to the window in your dressing gown and find something munching on your nuts, but there he was, standing by the fence, picking at some nuts. He was shifty looking.
Hilarious. Do you not agree? I thought that was brilliant. Thank you to the BBC for showing us that, because it was... The guy, look at the guy's face. He knows exactly what he's doing. He knows exactly. Oh, miles away from there. What he's doing. And they put it through. I mean, it's a bit of cheeky carry-on humour, I suppose. And it's factual, I suppose. But... And that brings us to breaking news. So, what's been occurring while I've been on airing? We don't know. I'm just waiting for it to load up now. Dum-de-dum-de-dum. Curse of the saddest ever Grand Designs house continues as it goes on sale for knockdown price. Alright. Commonwealth Bank closes thousands of ATMs. 10 worst train stations in the UK, named with 3 of them in the same city. Manchester, I bet. It could have been Wigan, because we used to have 3. Government to discuss handling ownership of post office to its operators. I thought it already was, but I could be wrong. Where are we? Strike dates for the trains, buses and driving. I don't know if you saw that clip on Talk TV of the was it NUM or was it NUT? I think it was a train driver's guy who's been brought on, and he was supporting the Palestinians, which I don't have a problem with necessarily, over the what Israel are doing to them. But he also kind of supported Hamas, which I have a massive problem with. You do not support Hamas. and he just got abusive, and he's screaming and shouting and getting very irate. And James Whale is the presenter. James Whale has got terminal cancer. He's stage 4, even stage 5 cancer. I mean, it is literally, we're talking weeks. He got told he wouldn't survive to see Christmas, and he's still going and he's still broadcasting. And this guy is going on about something that he's not even been brought on the show to talk about. He's been brought on to talk about the ridiculous train strikes. If anything, he's just made the situation worse for people who may have a legitimate reason for striking, which of course they don't. Oh, forget James Bond. Who will be the next Death in Paradise detective? I mentioned that earlier on, so looks like Ralph Little might be leaving. Oh, empty buildings planned to be used to house refugees set alight after protests. Liquid and Envy nightclub is closing its doors forever in Manchester. Warning to Jet2 passengers flying from Manchester Airport next month. Don't know what it is. If it's one of them, I'd look up the thing. US preparing for more strikes on Iran-backed groups. Oh, hang on a minute. This tragic case of the grandmother. Grandmother savaged by dogs while trying to break up fighting puppies, says her daughter. So the puppies were fighting. She tried to break them up and the dogs attacked her. Rishi Sunak visits Northern Ireland to mark the return of power sharing. Paris votes to triple parking charges for some SUVs. So you don't get charged on the space you're taking, you get charged on the vehicle you are driving. M62 coach bombings I was on before about the troubles in the IRA. There was a bomb at Hartshead Moor Services on the M62. I think it was put by the IRA, and it was 30 years ago today, something like that. Anyway, I know it was, or 50 years ago it could have been, even thinking about it. It was remembered today. Father of Liverpool star Conor Bradley dies, aged 58. Now, I've never heard of Conor Bradley, but I did watch a bit of football, I think, last week after doing this, to be fair. And Conor was 17, something like that, and he was doing some amazing stuff on the pitch. I think he scored a goal, and he was doing this, that, and the other. Anyway, sadly, his father was only 58, has passed away. Composer Steve Brown, 66, who penned music for Spitting Image and Anton Deck, has passed away. And that's it. Elder, I'm off to bed. I've got an early start tomorrow and I need to be up by 7. I've really enjoyed the stream tonight, loving the Sundays. See you Tuesday for the road trip. Yes, no worries, Angela. You take care, look after yourself. It's nearly over now anyway. We've currently got 11 people watching, although when I started that, let's look at the news. We had 16 people watching, which is one of the highest we've had. We've only got 8 likes, which is always a bit disappointing. I like to get in double figures if I can. Average view duration, though, is 17 minutes and 14 seconds. If you want to shout out, just say hi in the live chat and I'll give you a shout out, because I always give people a shout out in the chat, because that's what it's about. It's not just about me, it's about you guys as well. So a big shout out to Lainey, Sean J, Stephen LFC1, Angela O'Kane, Martin Baker, Matt Francis, who always watches on Catch Up, Luke Williams, Angela O'Kane, I think I've already said, Andy the Cyclists, Kelly Buxton, Hamilton Cave and Lewis, Lainey I've already mentioned, and Kim. Hiya Kim! Very quiet there, hope you're good. Yeah, so that's it. Thank you very much for watching, if indeed you still are. All being well, I'll be seeing you again next week. Don't forget to tell your family, friends, check out the playlists, and look at other stuff I've done as well. I've been doing these for getting on for 2.5 years now. So feel free to have a look at the stuff I predicted in the past. I might even do something like that if I can be arsed trawling through the amount of work I've done. Been on air for 1 hour and 44 minutes. So yeah, I think that's long enough for anyone. So thanks for watching. You look after yourselves. I'll see you again next time. Until then, bye. I'll say goodbye now. That means I've gone. I've gone now.